going on, everyone? Thanks for coming to watch. So I've got an update for you guys on the tropics right now. So as you can see, we do have newly formed tropical storm Lee that we were expecting to form a tropical storm anytime today, maybe even last night into tomorrow. But you can see we do have a 45-mile-an-hour tropical storm that's quickly, very, very quickly gaining strength as I speak right here at around 1,005 millibars. This is moving west-northwestward, expected to pass over Puerto Rico and the Lesser Antilles. I don't think you guys are going to be impacted by this other than those large swells, but we really, very, very closely got to watch as the storm gets into this area right here. I'm very concerned for one of the ways that the storm could go. It could it could be felt by some feature out here in the central or eastern U.S. and then it could get pulled in and then maybe even stall out. We could get one of those storms, like Sandy, or in the past we've seen in the Carolinas, we've seen a lot of stalled out tropical systems, but Lee is expected to become most likely our strongest hurricane of the season, a Category 4 major hurricane as it gets into this point right here. We could even maybe see a Category 5 hurricane for a brief point, so we very, very closely got to watch out for Lee. So let me switch this to the 7-day outlook here because we do have another wave that I am fairly concerned about here, which is this is Invest 96L. I apologize for the background noises if you can hear that. But this is expected to become a tropical depression at least. I think it will be a tropical storm. It may become a hurricane, but it's moving in that direction that Lee's moving in towards the United States. But again, I think that there is going to be a trough that's going to be strong enough to swing down and pick the storm up and throw it out to sea. Okay, but we don't know exactly where Lee is going to go, but we're getting a little bit more confidence of where Lee's going to be at up until this point right here, where it's about to hit the midway point between the Carolinas and Bermuda right here, okay? So it's going to be right next door to the Bahamas at that point. Then once it gets into this area here, it's a big question mark. We have no clue really of where exactly it's going to be going. We know some idea of where the general area will be that it's going to be going, but it could either take two paths. It could go into the northeast coastline, which we certainly got to watch out for, or it could just go out to sea, but make a very close turn to Bermuda, maybe even hitting Bermuda, or it could continue moving northward and then impact this area of Newfoundland. That's certainly possible. So we just got to watch out for all scenarios. And then up here, believe it or not, the skeleton of Franklin is still existing out here. We still have a low chance of development, but we do have hurricane. This is what used to be Hurricane Franklin here, trying to redevelop, has a 20% chance of redeveloping, into another tropical cyclone here. And then again, down here, Invest 96L has I believe, a 70% chance of development. So we're going to be moving on to our satellite loop for Lee. So you can see we've got a newly formed tropical storm here. Not much exciting convection going on, although once we get into the overnight hours, when things really get tropical, we get, that heat, kind of just, it lays off a little bit, and we just get that tropical feeling where it's really moist and humid. That's where we start seeing some higher cloud tops build, some more thunderstorm activity. You can see it's mostly going to be around the western side of the storm, so kind of acting like a shield here. But we definitely have some broad rotation with the system. There is almost zero shear out here. Well, notice how none of these rain bands have been taken off by the storm, just a little bit. You can see not a single part of it has really been taking off. So once the storm continues just generating enough rain bands in circulation, we will start to see the storms trying to wrap itself around, and we'll get that eye to form, causing a hurricane. So that's pretty much what's going to be going on with our system here, which is now Lee. So we're going to be calling this Lee for probably another week, a week and a half, up to 2 weeks maybe. This is going to stick around for pretty much the rest of the peak of hurricane season. The official peak of hurricane season is in 5 days. It's September 10th, okay? We're at September 5th right now, so it is pretty much the peak of hurricane season. I'm pretty much putting it that way. But we really got to talk about things, specifically focusing in on Lee. So we're going to be looking at now, this is the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center. This comes out as soon as the storm becomes a tropical depression, at least. This has been updated a little bit since the depression has formed. This is now a tropical storm. We're expecting this to be a hurricane as soon as 2 a.m. Thursday. So we're getting into Wednesday. This is pretty much 60 mile an hour, 70 mile an hour tropical storm. So this would actually be tomorrow. So about midday tomorrow around lunchtime, you're going to start hearing rumors about this thing nearing hurricane status. And then probably around the middle of the night tomorrow night, we get a hurricane out of this. This does not waste any time to continue growing, and finally, by 2 p.m. Friday, we have yet our third major hurricane on our hands of the Atlantic hurricane season here. We're expecting this to become a Category 3 major hurricane by Friday. I believe sometime late Saturday, we're going to see Category 4 status show up here on our wind field estimate here. But you can see so far the 2 out of 3 major hurricane status points here are located in this cone of uncertainty. So we have a decent idea of where it's going to go. We just don't know for sure exactly. So I think by Friday, we should probably start getting a sense of when it's going to take that move north. But you can see that it's going to be moving northwest pretty swiftly, so it's going to definitely have the choice to start moving a little bit closer to the United States coastline, which could be a problem. This does not mean anything really about impacts towards the United States or the Bahamas, okay? This just is the initial cone, and all the models, if you notice, have really just been agreeing completely on the first initial path of the system. What really matters is once we get up to here, which is going to be, again, that midway point between the Carolinas and Bermuda. That's when we got to start talking about impacts towards the United States. But for you folks out here in the Lesser Antilles tuning in, I know I have a few of you guys also down here near Haiti, okay? You guys should pretty much miss the storm. There are a few northern islands out here. If you can, please put down in the comments the names of these islands if you know them. But you guys might get affected by the outer bands of the system. Don't be worried. I think they're probably just going to bring some downpours, maybe some flash flooding. But the winds shouldn't be terrible for you guys. I think really once it gets to this point here for you guys, you'll probably see winds at around 50, maybe 60 miles an hour at most, because those hurricane force winds over 120 miles an hour are going to be right where my red dot is right there. So you really shouldn't have to worry much about the system as for now. This could certainly change. This is the cone of uncertainty. It could go south. It could go north. I'm thinking that if it were to change, it would probably go a little bit farther north. Okay? But yeah, anything can change really outside of the cone of certainty, which is this cone that is shaded here, and then the cone that has a bunch of dots around it. That's the cone of uncertainty, where we still, we have a slight idea of where it's going to go, just not a clear idea yet. So we're going to be looking at the current information on Tropical Storm Blaze. So again, we have maximum winds around 40 miles per hour, 45 miles per hour, minimum central pressure around 1,006 millibars, okay? And yes, this is pretty much it. We're going to be moving on to our 4 panel here. I don't know why I pulled this up here, but we're going to be looking at now the exact strength of the system. This is the current projected strength of the system according to all these models that are included in this chart here. But you can see this is what's concerning me. I'm telling you guys, I've been doing this for about a year now, a year and a half maybe, tracking tropical systems. I have never seen this much certainty of the storm being this strong, in my entire time of tracking tropical systems. I'm telling you, I mean, this is pretty much off the charts here. Pretty much a lot, the majority, more than the majority of just a few of these models are disagreeing with the fact that this storm will get to Category 4 status. Only a few of them. We see one, two, three, 4, 5, 6, about six of them. 5 or 6 of them do not take this up uh, to major hurricane status out of probably 35. Okay, that's pretty crazy to see. A lot of them, most of them, take this up to Category 4, dangerously close to Category 5. Yet 3 of them do actually spike Category 5 status with winds that would be at around 155 miles per hour, which is the scary part. Those winds are just ferocious, okay? But just based off looking at this, these models down here that don't even take it up to Category 1 status, ignore them. These are just models that are pretty much not they're not reliable all season round. But every single one of these models pretty much is taking this up to at least Category 2 status. Personally, I'm expecting a high-end Category 4, okay? I think we're going to get to a point right up here. I think right now, we have a pretty good shot at seeing a Category 5 hurricane. I'm not saying we will see a Category 5 hurricane. I'm just saying we definitely have a shot. But just seeing this such a strong signal this early, it's just incredible to see how strong this storm will be, and just the confidence that everyone has that the storm will get very, very strong. But yeah, I am really concerned just about how strong the storm will get. Not only for the fact that if it does move into the U.S., makes landfall, of course that's going to be devastating for sure. But still, even if this does go out to sea, it's still going to bring absolutely gigantic waves to the East Coast. I'm telling you, we might even see waves that would be equivalent to the waves you would see in a Category 1, Category 2 hurricane. They're going to be very, very high. I am urging none of you to go to the beach once the storm starts getting near the coastline, because it's just looking like this is going to be a heck of a monster of a storm out here. But we will be moving on to the GFS and the European models, so we're going to be kind of just comparing models here. The 18Z GFS is coming out right now. I think we have enough. I think we have, the model run has loaded for the storm completely. So look at the GFS first. You can see. So here we go now. This is just saying, by the middle of the night tonight, we've got a full-on high-end tropical storm gaining strength, drifting towards Lesser Antilles. Okay. Then it starts climbing north, affected by this weak ridging out here. There's weak ridging on top of the system that is keeping the system away from going way out into the central and northern Atlantic. Okay, we're saying, according to the latest GFS model, that we will get a hurricane by tomorrow evening. I would say probably around 6, 7, 8 p.m. is when we will start hearing about this becoming a hurricane. Okay, so Lee is continuing just to gain strength, and so it quickly takes a huge jump from a 961 millibar Category 2 hurricane up to a 949 millibar monster, probably Category 3 hurricane right here. That's a pretty big jump. I'm telling you, that's in less than 10 hours, okay? So you've really got to, pay attention to how strong the storm is getting and how quickly it's getting to that point. But the GFS is saying that by the time we see the storm moving north of the Lesser Antilles and Puerto Rico, we'll have a full-on high-end Category 3 hurricane. This may be pushing Category 3 status up to Category 4 status. That is certainly possible, especially with this kind of system. And at this point is when when the National Hurricane Center and everyone else is expecting a Category 4 hurricane. 936 millibars right here. All right, this is by 2 p.m. This is by 2 p.m. Sunday. Okay, so you're getting to midday Sunday, and you've got a full-on hurricane. Okay, this is a major hurricane. Excuse me. But this is continuing as a Category 4 hurricane. I really don't see much weakening from the system. Maybe a few miles per hour down from what it used to be, but it's still chugging out here and really thrashing some big waves up to especially Bermuda. Especially the Bahamas. If you're on the Bahamas, you may even be close enough to the system where you could get the outer bands of it. Okay, so that's gonna certainly put those waves up very, very high on the Bahamas, but especially the Florida, Georgia, and Carolina coastlines. Certainly watch out for those big waves. This is most likely what you're looking at here, a high-end Category 3 hurricane starting to move north, okay? It's it's moving north, but it is eyeing the northeastern coastline. Look at this. You can see it's kind of the low pressure. You can see it's not completely in the middle, centered in the middle of the storm. It's northeast, so that's telling you that that kind of hints the current movement of that system. So you know that would just show that the storm is moving in a generally northeastern direction. Okay, so at this point, we got to stop it here. This is where we lose some confidence in the models, what they're saying. Okay, we're pretty much a week out. We're pretty much a week out from now. Here we're at Wednesday, the 13th. Okay, this is 8 a.m. So you're waking up Wednesday. I think that this is somewhat going to be looking like a scenario that we're going to have. Okay, so we may see the storm start curving northward at a later point here, where the storm is starting to reach more and more into the Bahamas. Okay, that would most likely favor that would raise the odds of favoring landfall on the eastern U.S. because the storm would start curving north, and then even if it tries to go out to sea, it still kind of edges out the northeastern coastline. Okay, but if it starts curving north earlier, which what we're seeing here, that's just gonna push the storm up farther north. Okay, and then it's just gonna kind of go out to sea, kind of like that. Okay. And then we won't see the storm start curving out to sea as early as this point. I think that the earliest we'll get, which is according to the GFS going to happen, is that we'll see the storm start curving out just about here where my X is on your screen. Okay, so that's pretty much the full layout of our possible scenarios here. So we'll see what the latest GFS is saying. This is the 18Z. At this point, not all this information is correct. Okay, I doubt that much of it is correct, but there will be there might be some correct information on this, just about the where all the ridging is here, how strong the ridging could be, but really we don't really have much idea of where the storm would be at this point. But there is some fairly strong ridging, fairly close to the system. That's definitely keeping it closer to the United States that we want it to. That's what's really keeping this from going way out to sea. Because you can see there is barely any ridging out here in the central Atlantic, okay? There's also some ridging in the United States. That's going to be associated with a trough that's going to be bringing down a shot of cold air to the eastern U.S., which is going to relieve this terrible heat wave. Man, it is brutal. I mean, I had my first day of school today, and it was so hot, okay? But yeah, this will definitely affect the system. That's going to be a major reason of why the storm is going to be moving out to sea potentially, okay? We still don't know for sure if it's going to move out to sea. But the latest GFS run has the outer bands reaching into the northeastern coastline, okay? So you're going to get some impacts according to the 18Z GFS. This is not going to happen. We're going to see a different scenario. But this could be hinting something that could be fairly like what could potentially happen, okay? So this is 222 hours out. This is saying that about a week and 3 or 4 days out, by Friday the 15th, we get potentially a landfalling hurricane on the this area of, I believe this would be Newfoundland or Nova Scotia, somewhere in that general area, and the I guess this would be the eastern coastline of Maine. Okay, those outer bands would certainly reach into areas near Long Island and Cape Cod if this were to be true. This is not going to be true. This is going to change. But if this were to be true, then those outer bands would reach into Cape Cod, Long Island, those areas, etc., etc. As the storm pulls out, it just kind of gets swept up by this high out here in the northern hemisphere. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Okay, so that was the GFS. That was the 18Z GFS. We'll quickly run through the 12Z. Just for the heck of it. We'll see what the latest, literally like the latest trend has been and is for the direction of the system. So the storm develops here. I'm gonna try and run through this as quick as possible. Okay, we really see the storm getting strong at this point here. It starts curving out pretty early. I would say this is pretty much earlier than what we're expecting as from the ATZ. But look at how the storm, it notices that there's very little ridging out here in the eastern U.S. Okay, this is according to the 12Z GFS. If we saw ridging out here, it would be symbolized by one of these blue H's here. You don't see any of that in the United States. There is some very strong ridging out here right by eastern Canada. So that's what's keeping the storm away from going out to sea. And so pretty much the gates would be open for some sort of landfall, because it's also barely missing this trough here that's going to be swinging down. But it might feel some of the southern portions of it. Okay, and at this point, we'll put this back to this would be Friday again. You have a Category 2, most likely, hurricane bearing down on the mid-Atlantic and the northeastern coastline. Okay, so at this point, you're probably thinking, if this were to be happening, which is not going to happen, we're going to get changes, obviously, again. But if this were to happen, you would be freaking out here along the eastern U.S. You'd be totally freaking out here. It's looking like it's going to make a full-on landfall here. Okay, and it does make a landfall. Okay, according to the 18Z GFS, you've got a 969 millibar hurricane making landfall right over Cape Cod and Massachusetts coastline specifically. Those outer bands reaching into places like Long Island and southern New England. Then that storm pulls out. Okay, that was the 18Z run, or actually that was the 12Z run. So you kind of get the sense of it. We still don't know what's going to happen in this area here. This is a huge question mark right here. Okay, but the models have been, the GFS specifically has been back and forth between thinking, well, is it going to move into the northeast, or is it going to go kind of more out to sea, or is it going to be half and half? We really don't know that yet. We really just got to get to that point where the storm is starting to get nearer to the United States. All right, so I just want to look at this for a second. I just want to look at our steering current here. Just showing you, what's driving the system. So I'm gonna try and pull this up for you guys. I might have a little bit of trouble trying to find it here. So 1 second here. I am just trying to get it up for you guys here. Okay, right here. No, this wouldn't be it. Sorry, guys. Actually, yeah, we could roll with this. All right. So this map is pretty simple to use. I mean, it's pretty simple to kind of just figure out. So basically, we're going to be looking at where the open spots are for some just opening and opening of gates for some spots that the storm can move into. And so basically what you see here is, you see low pressure is in these cooler colors here, in these blues and these grayish blues here, these whites. That's just open land where the storm could move into. Okay, but you see these reds here, these warmer colors. This signifies high pressure and ridging, which keeps away tropical cyclones. Okay, so I want you guys to keep an eye on our system Lee right here, and also on what's going to be happening with the ridging out here in the eastern U.S. Okay. One thing also though, if you have a trough or some sort of cold front that could be swinging down from Canada, bringing a shock of cold air and warm air at the same time, which generates severe weather and thunderstorms, then that's certainly going to affect the system, potentially enough to drive it out. So if you see abruptly like a lot of colors of blue here, then that could certainly be a factor of why the system will go out to sea. Okay, so we get the system here. It's rolling into the Southwest Atlantic. We'll put this actually to the 18Z just because we got the latest information here. All right, there is some weak ridging on top of it. This is slowing it down from going a little bit farther north. That's what's keeping it from going north quicker. But it's suddenly, the ridging kind of backs off from it, and the gates they open wide, open out here in the Atlantic for the storm to go out to sea or just to start curving north. Okay, and it does just that. That's what strong storms do. Again, I want you to remember this. Stronger storms, they want to gain latitude, okay? And that's what this storm does. Notice how there is also some very, very low pressure out here in the eastern U.S., okay? But it could definitely try and pull the system closer to the United States, okay? You can see that our low pressure would be right here. That would be where our low pressure is. This is a trough right here, bringing some shots of cooler air down through the eastern U.S., okay? But notice how it's just trying to wrap itself around this system here, trying to pull it back into the northeastern U.S., okay? We could certainly have a possibility of the storm getting grabbed by this feature here, and then it stalls out right by the coastline, okay? That would be one scenario that could definitely bring this system into the United States, specifically the Northeast, okay? That's why we're concerned about the Northeast for now. But the system is strong enough to, at this point, to avoid, getting taken over by this trough here. But the 18Z GFS is saying that the trough will stick around for a pretty long time as it just kind of swings around out here in the in the northern U.S. Okay, and southern Canada here, but this will definitely affect the system if this were to be true. We've been starting to consistently see some more certainty on that this trough will exist. Okay, so we're pretty sure that this will be around at least near the time of when the storm will near the U.S. But it can certainly play a major role in where the system will be going. Okay. So that's going to be pretty much it for the GFS. We look at the European model, okay? We're just going to be looking at the track of it, not any maps about the ridging or anything, okay? So, we'll get the system here. It's moving northward, passing over the Lesser Antilles. It has a little trouble developing the system. Notice how the GFS, we'll go back to the GFS at this point. The Euro wants a 974 Category 1 hurricane. What is this? 96 hours out. So this would be, sorry about that. 1 second. This would be Saturday. Okay, so the European model wants by Saturday only a Category 1 hurricane. Okay, that doesn't seem that major. The GFS, at this point, it wants a 938 monster Category 3, Category 4 hurricane. There's a big difference in that. So the European model may be under exaggerating the system, or under I don't know how to put it. It's like under strengthening the system, okay? Because the current forecast is that at this point this will be a major hurricane. So it's looking like a GFS so far is correct on just this part of the system, okay? But then the European model wastes no time getting the system to a stronger point here. We're getting now into, well, this is Sunday, okay? And the European model really has the storm moving a lot slower than the GFS. It's pretty much stalling out right here. It's barely, there's barely any movement with the system. Watch how we go. We go. This is, let me go back here 1 second. So we go from this is early Monday, or actually late Monday, okay? We'll stop it here at around late Wednesday, or early Wednesday, excuse me. And we barely see any movement from the system. I'm gonna tell you, we're gonna see movement probably at around like 5 miles an hour. It's going to be a pretty ridiculous slow movement number here. But to make this may be something that the models do to make up for the slow development of the system. The European model takes us up to a crazy scenario here of a 928 millibar, potentially high-end category 4 hurricane. Okay, we've seen stronger runs by the European model with this system. We saw one model, excuse me, or one run showing a Category 5 917 millibar hurricane. That's not going to happen, okay? It's probably not going to be that strong, but we do definitely get a strong system, not only showing up in the GFS, but the European model, okay? But we're getting into Wednesday, where at this point, the GFS would want the system to be up here, okay? We can even go back to the GFS once again, looking at where the GFS wants the system to be at this point. And yeah, it's right in that area. I mean, the European model still wants it hanging around back there. Okay, so the speed of the system is also another thing that the GFS and European have been tweaking and kind of fooling around with the forecast. Okay, but the storm continues moving northward. Look how we see the trough starting to swing down here, but the storm, it's moving northward quicker. It's starting to curve northward a lot quicker than the GFS wants it, which would definitely have the odds of the system going out to sea a lot higher, or a lot more favorable, and that we would most likely not see a northeastern U.S. Landfall. Okay, but the storm starts being affected and grabbed by that feature that we see here, that trough. It's right here, okay? It's starting to move right through the eastern U.S., and it's trying to pick up the system. But look, we still have a 958 monster Category 3 hurricane. I mean, you can't really have a weak trough just trying to pull that up at that strength, okay? So if we got the full, it's like, I don't know what this would be, 300 hours, we would probably see what would happen is that the system would continue moving towards the United States and then just, quickly vanish, okay, out to the eastern U.S. That would probably be something that would happen, okay? This is not true information. This is going to change. The GFS is going to change. We're going to see major changes with the forecast. Not all of this information is correct. Not all of this information is wrong. We're going to see major changes with this. Just got to stick with it and make sure that we're following every single change of the information that we get and looking at the new information we get as we follow the progression of the system. Okay? So look at the European ensembles here. We're going to be looking at the tracks. This is something I've also been concerned about that has been tweaked in the past few hours. We're starting to see, I don't know if you're hearing that background noise. Yeah, there's a lot of, yard work going on out here. But if you've noticed, in my recent video I did, I think last night, we saw most of the tracks just starting to move out to sea kind of like that, okay? Look at this bunch that has formed right here of these very strong tracks. These are still Category 3, Category 4 hurricanes in this bunch here that are still trying to move south of where this trough is going to be swinging by, which would certainly, I would tell you, the chances for the storm making landfall, if these members were true, and we got to this point, they would skyrocket, okay? We would probably now look at, the storm being all eyes on the southeast and Carolinas in general, okay? that would be a situation that we would get in if the system continued just moving generally in a northwesterly flow. Okay, and then you got your second bunch here, which is pretty much in the middle of things, where we have the most certainty, and where we think things are going to go, is where it starts curving north, but it's not completely done with moving a little bit closer to the coastline, a little bit farther west. Okay, I want to redo that arrow because I was pointing right towards the northeast coastline. I want to make it a little shorter and kind of just like that. All right. And then you got your third bunch here of these weaker systems. These are Category 2, Category 3 hurricanes that really just start going way out to sea. And then at that point, you really see no way that these systems could go all the way from going all pretty much out to sea from here, um, and then curving way back into the United States. That just doesn't make sense. Okay, so that's pretty much the layout as for now. Okay, this has changed a lot. I'm telling you, according to the European ensembles, the chances of the storm getting a little bit closer to that area we don't want it to has been going up slightly. Okay, just remember, don't flip out about it right about now, because you hear that Mr. Storm is saying that the chances of concern, or the chances of concern about the United States getting hit are rising. Okay, this is just new information, showing a little bit of a stronger signal for a potential landfall in the United States. Okay, it's way too early to make any decisions on what we think is going to happen. We just got to look at the information that we get. Okay. For the last part of the update, I know we're not looking at the tropics. I know most of you are going to be yelling at me in the comments out here, like, why are we not looking at the tropics? I just want to talk about this major heat wave that is entering the eastern U.S. Okay, let me tell you guys, for one thing, it is sweltering out here. I went to school, it was the first day of school today. My school, unfortunately, has pretty much no AC. Our real feel was up to about 107 degrees with a real temperature of around 96 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, I mean, for some of you in the central U.S., okay, that's nothing towards you guys, but for us in the eastern U.S. on Long Island, I mean, that is unbearable heat, and that has been occurring all up and down the eastern U.S. We could even switch to the eastern U.S. I just want to show you guys this, though, the wide view. This, believe it or not, is our trough right here. Okay, this is its front here. It's kind of it's like kind of its first a frontal line of I guess this would be precipitation. Okay, or thunderstorms. Okay, and this is what's pushing all this warm air out to sea. Okay, that's also going to raise those the sea surface temperatures in the way of Lee. Okay, future Hurricane Lee. So that's going to be also keeping the system able to keep breathing and just chugging out there and continue getting stronger and stronger. Okay, but we're going to be seeing this shot of cold air start moving its way down towards the eastern coastline. Okay, once it gets there, it's going to interact with Lee. Okay, but you can see that for our highs, we're seeing widespread mid to upper 90s across the eastern U.S. Out here in the central U.S., we're seeing temperatures getting into the hundreds, especially for you guys out here in Oklahoma and Kansas, also parts of Texas. But we get into tomorrow. We're getting into, let's get 2 p.m. tomorrow. It's probably going to be even hotter. Tomorrow's probably going to be the worst day of the Actually, let me put that back. It's probably going to be the worst day of the heat wave tomorrow. We can see those temperatures, those higher temperatures from the southern U.S. shift over to the eastern U.S. Now we're seeing upper 90s for pretty much the entire East Coast. But some of you could hit 100 degrees. I would not be surprised if an area near like Lynchburg, Virginia, or I mean, even up to like Trenton, New Jersey, or New York City, or parts of or Charleston, South Carolina, hit 100 degrees. I wouldn't be surprised, because we're gonna get a pretty big strengthening of this heat wave. But we'll get to 2 p.m. looking at what things are going to be looking like here. And this piece of energy, this trough that's going to be building, it's kind of going to be slowing down. It's going to be breaking up. There might be another system ahead of it That's also going to be working on pushing the cold air out. Okay, so it kind of look like this. It's going to be another frontal boundary of colder air. It's going to be pushing that warm air out. So we may get another band of precipitation here. So we may get two storms out of this. These are going to bring severe weather threat, especially tomorrow. So this one will, that goes to show that this one will be dropping at least some precipitation, could be in the form of severe weather. But I think this one will be certainly stronger, which will be the one that interacts with future Hurricane Lee. Okay. Now we're getting into, let's see, we're getting into 2 p.m. This is midday Friday. Look at this, another big band of the heat dome starting to really just gather up here in the central west areas of southern Oklahoma. 110 degrees, 108 degrees. Same thing for northern Texas. Still holding on to that heat out here in the the east coast of the United States. Okay, out here in the central U.S., in between these two different systems here, you got a little bit of another shot of warmer air, but then quickly, that second system behind it starts pushing its way towards the coast, which will send yet another round of heat towards the eastern U.S. So we're probably going to see two heat waves from this. It's gonna warm up again late this week, probably. So it's going to probably slow down, probably from, I would say, Wednesday, or actually not, no, Wednesday, sorry, Thursday to Friday, okay, or Thursday, Friday, and then into some parts of Saturday, and then late weekend we start seeing another warm up, okay. But you'll start to see kind of the shift of things start unfolding across the eastern U.S. We'll still see those leftover push of hot and warmer air along the eastern U.S. that could generate some more heat waves, but that will start getting into back of things as we near fall, where we'll see some cold air, some shots of cold air move down to Canada. So that's all I got for you guys. Thanks so much for coming to watch. Gotta watch the tropics. Lee is now on the prowl. It is now emerged and is about to enter a zone that is going to make the system go bonkers. I am telling you, we're going to see a Category 4 hurricane. I'm saying right now that we might get a Category 5 hurricane. I don't know. It's too early to tell, but one thing we got to watch out for, this is certainly the biggest concern, is what impact we'll see in the eastern U.S. and also down here in the Caribbean, and down here near the Bahamas. So thanks so much for coming to watch. That's all I got for you guys, and we'll see you guys in the next video.